Hi everybody, welcome to Now You're Cooking. It's demo night, and tonight we are making an adaptation of a recipe from Sam Sifton's book, See You on Sunday. This is an awesome book. Lots of great recipes, stories about how Sam Sifton got started doing his Sunday afternoon dinners with friends and stuff. Really fun book. And this stew is delicious. It's made with stout. Tonight we're going to be using Fall Coffee Stout from Maine Beer Company. And we are also recommending the Tepes Malbec, which is delicious Malbec from Argentina. And that goes for $17.99, really nice pairing with this stew. The first thing that I have done here is I put in my onions and my garlic, and this uses red onions, so I chopped them up pretty finely, put those in with 2 tablespoons of butter, and I browned those. And so now I'm going to turn my stove back up, and I'm going to add some vegetables and another 2 tablespoons of butter. So that's going in, and then in here I have celery, carrots, and mushrooms. And these are just going to go in. And they're going to cook for about 10 or 15 minutes. Ideally, we might cut that a little short this afternoon just so you're not sitting there watching this cook, which could be kind of boring. But while this is going, we're going to make some mashed potatoes. And this also is from the same book by Sam Sifton. Mashed potatoes are great with the stew, so you can serve you can serve the mashed potatoes right in a bowl and put the stew on top, or you can serve it side by side. You could do egg noodles or rice or whatever with the stew, but it's really good with the mashed potatoes. And mashed potatoes, of course, are a classic Thanksgiving side, which is another reason that we wanted to do these. I have the recipe. I'm not sure the recipe for the potatoes has been posted, but if not, we will post it. These are Yukon potatoes. I don't peel. I just wash, and I leave the peel in there for a little extra texture. And I always like to think that's where all the vitamins are, although that's probably not true at all. And I'm just going to mash these nicely. I'm keeping an ear to the sizzling over here. And I'm just going to, every so often, step over and give this a stir. If you are making these 2 items together, you're going to want to wait on the potatoes, or else make sure that you have them in an oven-proof dish to warm them back up, because the stew's going to take a little while. We're going to do the first part on the stove, which you'll see, and then it's going to go in the oven for an hour and a half before it's really ready. And then when it comes out, you put in some cheddar cheese, and it's really good and decadent and delicious. So here we are mashing away at our potatoes. We want these pretty smooth. And one thing that I learned from Sam Sifton's book, and also just looking at mashed potatoes online, I've always just poured in cold milk and thrown in cold butter, and the potatoes have been hot enough to melt, and also to warm up the milk. But apparently, if you heat up your milk and your butter, it makes your potatoes fluffier. Who knew? Well, somebody did, and now I know that too, and now you know. So this is just butter that has been melted with milk, and I'm going to pour in about half. May not need all of it. I think we probably will, though, because I like creamy potatoes. And I'm just going to keep mashing. And I put some salt right into the water, so I'm not going to add salt to the potatoes until I actually taste them. I think they're mashed well enough now. I just want to stir them up. Make sure I get all the sides. And I'm going to take a little taste. I'm definitely going to want to put the rest of the liquid in here, I think. And I would definitely put a little bit more salt. Doesn't need much. I can taste the salt, but it's not quite enough for my liking. So that's like maybe 1/4 teaspoon. I also really love pepper, so I'm going to put pepper in here, which is not on Sam Sifton's recipe, but I'm adding pepper because I love pepper. And so that's nice freshly ground pepper, not too much. And here's the rest of our milk and egg, except for the part that I spilled on the counter. I mean, not milk and egg, milk and butter. What am I talking about? Give these guys another little stir. What we're looking for here, the onions and the garlic have already been kind of caramelized and cooked through, but we want the mushrooms especially to cook some of their liquid out. Mushrooms are pretty wet, which you wouldn't think to look at them, but they are. There's a lot of liquid in there. And of course, as with any recipe, if you don't like mushrooms, leave the mushrooms out. If you don't like carrots or you don't like celery, leave them out, put something else in. Speaking of adding different things, Sam, we're on a first name basis. Sam Sifton suggests if you want a little bit of extra texture or flavor in your potatoes, add a little celeriac, which is celery root, or which you would cook right with the potatoes, or parsnips, which are like white carrots. If you don't know parsnips, they're awesome. But they have a pretty high sugar content. They're the right color, so they won't like change the color of the potatoes. But they'll add a really nice flavor. Celery root's one of my favorite, very underknown in this country, but it's fabulous. And I think those are good. They're pretty well mashed. They're not, I like a little texture to them, so I like a little piece of potato here and there. If you want these really whipped up, go ahead and put them in a stand mixer and mix them. But make sure you don't overmix them, because as the starch comes out, they can get really gluey. So just be careful. Keep an eye on them. But if you like them smoother than I do, go for it and make them smoother. Again, just keep your eye on it so they don't get too bad. Let's give this a little bit more of a stir. You can see the mushrooms are starting to brown. You can tell from the sizzling that the liquid's coming out of them. It smells, I can't see anything, I'm all fogged up, but it smells fabulous. And while that continues just a little bit longer, I'm sure you've all been admiring our gingerbread house. Next week is Thanksgiving. The week after is December 2nd, and we're going to be doing gingerbread on December 2nd. We're going to make gingerbread houses. This is a really delicious gingerbread recipe from our favorite blog, Sally's Baking Addiction. It's really good, sturdy for houses. You can and probably want to make your house a bit smaller than this. I get a little carried away. But we'll go over that and some decorating. We'll make the dough and so on and so forth. But what's even more exciting is that we're going to have a little contest. So if you want to make gingerbread house by yourself, with your kids, with your friends, however you want to do it, post a public photo of it on Facebook or Instagram. It has to be public so that we can access it. Tag us in it, or email us a picture and we'll put you into the running. Also, we're going to have 2 categories. One is going to be more of the traditional gingerbread house, covered with candy and fun and colorful. And then we'll have a non-traditional, which would be maybe something like this. Do your own house if you want to, or a church or a boat or a person, or one of the trolls that they have down at the botanical gardens. I love that idea. I want to make one. Anyway, so make some gingerbread houses and join us for the contest, because it's going to be really fun. And so we'll be doing, what's that? What do you win? There will be 2 winners, one from each category, unless we have tons and tons and tons, in which case we may add to the winners. But it's a $25 gift certificate for Now You're Cooking. And who can't use $25 here? So get creative, put your thoughts together, and come up with some great ideas, and we'd love to see them. So that's going to be officially announced on the 2nd. We will end it on the 23rd, I think is the Thursday before Christmas, and we'll be doing a demo that night, a really quick one, eggnog, I believe, homemade eggnog that night. And we'll announce the winners that night, and we'll share the pictures. I think that's all about the gingerbread. So back to our stew here. If I wasn't filming this live, I would probably let this go a little longer, but it's going to be just fine the way it is. So I have 3 pounds of stew beef, a nice big sprig of rosemary, which I'm going to drop right in there. I put salt and pepper on this to taste. You can always add more salt later, so don't overdo it. And that is going right into my pot. Speaking of my pot, you've seen this before if you've been watching us. We made mussels in this and maybe something else, but the reason I want to mention it is that we are still selling these at a really, really good price. The Le Creuset, it's an 8-quart oval Dutch oven. It's available in several different really beautiful colors, and it's $140 off, which is crazy. So it's originally I can't see it from here. Originally $440, and it's marked down to $299. Excuse me. And they're just beautiful, and they're great for making this stew or, anything like that that's big. I mean, you could do a huge roast in here. You could do a chicken with all kinds of vegetables. It's got lots of room. Chili, big pot of chili for the big game. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour to this, and that's going to help thicken the stew. The other thing I wanted to mention was this pot that I just cooked my potatoes in. We have a similar pot. It's the exact same pot, but with a glass lid. And those are also on sale. It's technically a Black Friday deal, but why wait, we say. Why wait for Black Friday? So really great deal on those. I love the glass lid because you can kind of see what's going on without opening it up. And so the 2 on the end, there's a blue and a grenadine way down at the left. And those are a little bit higher priced because of the way they do the glaze, the enamel on those. But they're just absolutely beautiful. 4-quart Dutch ovens, great for making bread, stew, mashed potatoes, maple bacon, Brussels sprouts, whatever you have coming up for Thanksgiving or for Christmas. They make great Christmas gifts as well. So, all right, we've got our meat, we've got our rosemary, we've got our flour, and we're cooking this for about 5 minutes. And it's probably been 3, I'm guessing. It's browning a little bit. I've got it on about a medium heat. And that rosemary is just so fragrant. I love it. And all the meat doesn't have to be completely seared. It's all going to cook in here anyway. But it'll get a little brown on each of them. Each piece is good. And some of these pieces are pretty big. If you wanted to go through and cut up your beef a little smaller, that's not a bad idea. But then the next thing, and almost last thing I'm going to do, is add the stout. You can use any stout. We love this one. It's one of the ones that we sell. Although I think we're out of stock. No? We have a few bottles left. And we also have a bunch of different stouts here. And I'm just pouring this over. And the recipe says to cover the meat. I don't really want to open another bottle just for this, so I'm not going to. But you might add, if you were me, if I were you, I would add maybe a little bit more stout to this. You can always drink the rest of it, right? If you open a can or a bottle and you don't finish it. And This would now go right into an oven at 375 degree oven, and it goes in for an hour and a half. And then when you bring it out, check it and make sure if it seems like it's really wet and you want it a little thicker, you can put it on the stove top again on a low heat. Just keep an eye on it, stir it frequently, and it should thicken up. And then when it's ready to serve, right before you're ready to serve, you want to throw in 8 ounces of cheddar cheese and stir that in and let it kind of melt in there, and that will also help thicken it a little bit. And then serve this over your beautiful potatoes, over egg noodles or rice or whatever you like to serve your beef stew with. A little green salad on the side, and you've got it made. Your veggies are in here. You've got meat, you've got potatoes, you've got a well-rounded meal. Really, the only other thing that you would need is dessert. And we have lots of videos. Oh, and the house. We also have lots of videos making desserts and stuff. So check them out if you need some ideas. So next week is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. The week after is December 2nd, Thursday, December 2nd, and we'll be making gingerbread houses, and we have a couple of other ones that we're making, so you get to see all of those. And they're actually probably going to go in our window, so you'll be able to see them out on the street. I think that's it. Is that it, Heather? I think that's it. We will see you on the 2nd of December. Have a fabulous Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you're with loved ones and you have a nice, safe, happy time. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks.